want to commend some young men that are here. Good to see you back in the, to Carl and all the young men that are back here. It's good to see you. I'm so glad to have you back with us. And so, I get a call all the time from them, and we thank God for them communicating with us. We just thank God for those young men. I see. Glad to see you. Good to see you. Want to thank Al for doing such a good job on last Sunday. Good job. I've been calling folks, telling them to go to YouTube, and YouTube has been a good tool for us because I hear from a lot of people that they are watching the messages that are here. So sometimes, just because you think it's not getting out, it really is to other places. And so it's good. Be praying for Brother Walker. Be praying for Brother Walker. He has been in with the pneumonia, and he's been in the hospital, but he's at home at this point. Please, I'm asking everyone, even if they're not here, please ask them to sign up for our church meeting on the 29th. Very important that you be here. If you're working, we understand that. But don't lay out just because you don't want to come. Because if the church is going to grow, we're going to have to work together. We're going to have to communicate better. There's some stuff that we need to get together. We're getting very careless on a lot of things, and we don't have any direction or any purpose. And that hurts the church. It's not just the preachers. It's not just the elders. It's not just the deacons. Every member has to play a role. Either you're rowing the boat or you're holding the boat up, keeping us from going where we need to go. So we need everybody rowing. We've been dealing with it, and I apologize if I am repeating some stuff. I kind of flopping back and forth doing so many things. I was trying to remember where we left off in Franklin Street, but be that as it may, if we've been over this, just act like you do when you watch those movies you've seen before. Act like you haven't seen it before. Song you like to hear, it's just a repeat of the song you like to hear. But we've been talking about stop reacting and start responding. And we told you that a reaction is generally a negative thing, whereas a response usually brings about better conditions after said and done. And we've been talking about it from a psychological standpoint, but at this point, I want to look at it from the spiritual standpoint. I don't care what great psychiatrists say, until we hear from the great physician, we haven't heard anything. And so Jesus has the last word. And the Holy Spirit uses his brother James, in James chapter 1, verses 9 through 20. He tells us, understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must be quick to listen. Now, I want to apologize because spell check changed my off to of. I know the difference. Before you fly off, that should be off, not of, the handle. Make sure of what you are hearing and seeing. What happens is the greatest problem to communication is the illusion that it is taking place. How many times have you said something to somebody and they say, I know, and go out and do just the opposite of what you said? Mm-hmm. Yeah. They thought they heard you, but they really didn't. They thought they understood you, but you really didn't. And so that's what I was talking about earlier. I do remember talking about the fact that people get upset sometimes because I've been trained because of the crucialness of my work that we communicate and we ask questions back and forth. Maybe a simple question. It's not that you're trying to question what the person is saying. It's that are they trying to question you? We're just trying to make sure when we leave this office, we go out and do the right thing and not mess something up. Because if you mess something up, it's going to be very critical. And you're not talking about like your car, you have a little wreck. We're talking about millions of dollars. And you have to look at people's lives the same way. People's lives are valuable. You need to make sure you are communicating properly with them and don't fly off the handle. And then you have to understand, some folk, I don't care what you do, are just looking for an argument. I don't care what you say, they want to fuss, they want to fight. And then there are misunderstandings. And I would say most of our disagreements come out of incomplete
information or incomplete communication. We hear what we want to hear. We have to understand, we are programmed to think, I don't care who you are, you're programmed to think a certain way. And you listen a certain way. And so we got to reprogram ourselves to see what a person is really saying. A lot of times, when I'm talking to people and they're telling me what's going on, I try to listen to the point that I understand what they're saying may not be what they're saying. Sometimes people are trying to mask the problem with words. And I've actually interrupted people and said, okay, I hear what you're saying, but what are you really saying? What's the real problem? I know you're saying this, but what? And most times I say, well, you're right. Here's what I'm really trying to get to. People do not open up unless they feel they are secure enough. And see, the thing about it is, you have to be careful when you're talking to people, because people will only open up if they trust you. If they trust you, you get the real deal. If they don't, then we need to learn to diffuse situations. And it behooves us to check ourselves. Just because somebody else flies off the handle doesn't mean I have to fly off the handle. Just because somebody cusses me out doesn't mean I have to cuss them out. The Bible tells us in Romans 12:17-18, never pay back evil with more evil. You know, sometimes folk cuss you out, and the first thing you say is you're another one and your mama too. Being facetious there, but when folk go to hollering and cussing at you at work, you go to hollering and cussing at them. Folk at Walmart go to hollering and cussing at you. Folk on the highway go to hollering and cussing at you, and you want to do the same thing. But let me tell you something. You ought not let anybody control you like that. Amen. Just because they go off the handle doesn't mean you have to go off the handle. Never pay back evil with more evil. Do things in such a way that everyone can see you are honorable. Just because somebody else wants to play the fool, you don't have to get in and play with them. Yeah. Amen. You don't have to get in and play with them. Just because somebody else wants to act up, he says, do all you can to live with peace. And how many people? Everybody. Everybody. All people. Just because folk are upset doesn't mean you have to get upset. You need to keep your character and speak kindly, speak lovingly, and go about your business. Be quick to hear. So often, I'm give you some communication advice. If you are listening when somebody's talking, you're not thinking about your response. You are toned in on what they are saying. If you're thinking about a response, you are not listening. Yeah. Don't believe this lie that you can multitask. You can't do but one thing. Either you can listen or you can think. You can't do both. That's why when we're trying to communicate, a lot of times, you ever been talking to somebody and they're steadily interrupting you? That's not communication. You having a conversation, they're having a conversation, but neither one of the conversations have anything to do with each other. And that's the biggest problem in the church. We don't know how to communicate. We really don't know how to communicate. We really don't know how to listen. Dennis, the next thing we need to do, I'm just glad to see Dennis. I ain't picking on Dennis. I'm just glad to see him. He called me quite often. The next thing we need to do is, after you don't get in a hurry to fly off the handle. We need to make some adjustments on that. I didn't adjust that properly, but here's what it should have said. Don't be in a hurry to react. Take time to respond. Right. Don't be in a hurry to react. And then you figure out after they get through talking, they didn't have it to spare. They got to give you a piece of their mind. Be slow to speak. And often the best thing to do is to say nothing. Sometimes when folk are talking crazy, the best thing to do is not say anything. But sometimes, I don't know why, we just feel like we got to respond to everything that's said. And everything and then I'm going to slow down here because you need to hear this. We're too quick to repeat rumors and downright lies. We will repeat a rumor at the drop of a hat. And we'll say, we will go all week, spend 2 hours on rumors, and won't spend 2 minutes talking about Jesus. Amen. We'll spend the whole week talking about gossip and never mention the gospel. Somebody said, the old folks said that a lie has gone around the world 10 times while truth is still in the baby. Why do we like to just talk about junk and mess? And even if it's true, does it really need repeat? Is it worth your time talking about what somebody else has done? Because what happens is you end up destroying somebody. They may not, I may not even know Brother Elliot. But before I meet him, somebody's told me all kind of mess. And so I shape opinions about somebody I don't even know. Then I spread it and destroy him. Yeah. And so I've learned, what I've learned to do one day is when folk go to telling me about what somebody else has done, I have a tendency to say, that's good to hear, but they're not here to defend themselves. And you don't really know that much about them, but you know a whole lot about yourself. Right. Tell me some of your business. Right. And you'd be surprised how many folks shut up. You don't need to be talking about anybody else's business, or anybody else's plan, because it has nothing to do with you. That'd be like us sitting at a restaurant, Elder. We sit at a restaurant, me and the Elder having lunch, and I look across the table, and somebody having liver and onions. I say, I can't stand liver and onions. And I go tell you, you need to throw that away. That ain't none of my business. But that's what we do. Since when, and I love Florida Road because we'll be having discussions and we'll be having biblical discussions. And sometimes we have to understand everything is not black and white. There are some gray areas in the scriptures. Even though we make everything black and white, everything is not black and white. He tells us some what's, but he doesn't tell us how. And we get to argue about how, and Floyd with that little voice in here said, wait a minute, brothers, wait a minute. Since when does what I eat give you indigestion? And that's true. You may not be able to handle it, but if I can handle it, what is that to you? What has that got to do with you? I know some folks don't like, Sister Payne and I, the kids love to enjoy it. We love to enjoy ourselves. The kids threw us a Mardi Gras for our anniversary. Somebody might have got offended. But it didn't offend me because it doesn't bother me. Nobody left drunk. Matter of fact, nothing there to drink. Nobody left drunk. Nobody acted the fool. But you had a good time. And I know you had a good time because those that y'all came ate up everything that didn't help. It was glad to see you. Glad to see you. But I'm just saying, we make issues out of stuff. Right. Can't need to preach in his way. Well, let me tell you something. I'm just honest enough, some folk have a problem with it. I'm just honest enough to tell you, I love my music. Yeah. Still love my music. Yes, sir. And I'm not going to pretend, but my music does not control me. Yeah. I know when my music is appropriate. Yeah. I don't listen to rap and all that, but I do love me some Temptations. Gladys Knight, Uncle Charlie, Al Green. Yeah. I love that kind of music because it just does. make it up with your small mind and speak it with your big mouth. Because I don't know if I can say that again. But really, if you don't see it, if you don't hear it, don't invent it, and then speak it. And even if you do see it, and if you do hear it, unless it's going to endanger somebody else, why are you repeating it? What good does it do to run somebody else down? And sometimes we see, but we don't see. I'm going to tell you something this. I'm going to tell you because Sister Payne said, you can't keep nothing. No, I can't keep nothing. Years ago, we had a kind of brown Cadillac, kind of complicated with a dark brown top. And so, in the meantime, I sold that car, and I bought one that was blue and gray. Well, Sister Payne got a call one night about 10 o'clock. You know where your husband is? I said, at work. No, he ain't at work. He's up there on 67 at the hotel, at something in the hotel. She said, now, first of all, let me tell you something. Brother, Dwight, now if you said the Holiday Inn, I might go look. But Dwight ain't going to no little rat hole like that. And she laughed about it. And she told me about it when I got home. Well, one evening, I was there at the house. Phone rang, Mrs. Payne, I laying there in bed. She said, he over there now. She said, well, if he's there, come on over here and get me. I want to see this. Well, she drove up, and I answered the door. And then she and Waylon went in the den, and she said, child, why didn't you tell me your husband was home? She said, because you told me you was somewhere else. And furthermore, let's go out in the garage. She said, what color car did you see? I saw that brown. This is the car I'm driving. It's got my name on it. It's got Waylon on the tag. She got mad at Waylon. Yeah. When she should have kept her mouth shut. That's how your so-called friends. Yeah. I've had an instance. I'm gonna just tell you, I had an instance myself where my best friend, I saw his uncle at the mall with a lady. And I never said a word. Never said a word to his wife, never said a word. Well, several years later, I flew back to Miami. And they were having a family picnic, so I went. And she confronted me. She said, Dwight, why didn't you tell me you saw him at the mall with some woman? I said, first of all, you're allowed to see me at the mall with a woman. But my sisters, when I go to Miami, my sisters and my nieces are going to go with me everywhere I go if Waylon's not with me. And folk can confuse them for somebody else. Yeah. But if I go to the mall, you can bet one of my sisters or one of my nieces is going to be with me. Yeah. So I didn't know if it was a relative, especially because it was Christmas. I didn't know if it was a relative or not. And number two, if it was going on that strong and that long, you'd eventually find out. All right. And I said, I wouldn't dare hurt you by telling you something. And obviously his conscience must have bothered him because he ended up telling you later. Don't be so in a hurry to tell folks something that, why would you want to hurt somebody like that? Child, you just need to know. Maybe they'll find out on their own. All right. You don't have to spread. It's not like you found out. We're so busy in everybody's business. I'm telling you this because you can do more damage than you can good trying to get into other folks' business. And another thing, I forgot to tell you another part Waylon told her. She said, now what bothers me is, why are you watching my husband that close? while you watching other folks' business, what's going on at your business? Then, I got to close out. The other thing we need to be aware of is Proverbs. Don't answer the foolish arguments of fools, or you will become as foolish as they are. That's from the Bible. Don't try to answer everything that everybody says to you. Because after a while, folk can't tell which one of you is more foolish. And don't listen to every foolish thing that's said to you. Because information in equals actions out. So when you're going to act in the fool, because somebody has fed you foolish, be slow to speak. And sometimes if you don't say anything, folk don't know what's on your mind. But as soon as you blurt it out, you give yourself, the best thing to do when you're dealing with an adversary is not to let them know what you think. And sometimes folk will get on, sometimes folk will get on your last nerve, but smile and act like they don't even bother you. Smile and act like it doesn't even bother you, because they're trying to get under your skin. But nobody controls you but you. I get sick of being hitting women talking about, she made me do it. No, she didn't. Nobody made you do anything. You did it because that's who you are. You made me say that to you. No, you didn't. No, I didn't. Because if you were in control, I couldn't make you say that. You would have enough control to walk away. That's why we have so many church fights. Folk don't know when to shut up. And they're always telling something that I heard, or I know. Child, it's true. I know it's true. And 6 months later, it still hadn't come true. So when is it true? If it hadn't come true yet, when is it true? And we can kill more folks with our mouths. Kill their influence. And then we wonder why we can't be successful as a church. And I'm talking religion, period. I'm just saying we create situations, we destroy things that we're trying to build, and then we blame everybody but ourselves because our mouths have destroyed what we tried to build. He says, or you will become as foolish as they are. The final point I want to give you now. Proverbs 15:1. A soft answer turns away wrath. Just because you're cussing at me don't mean I have to cuss back at you. Just because you're hollering at me doesn't mean I have to holler at you. And a lot of times when you go to work, that person's all upset. And I do it quite often. Folk going through all these changes, angry and all upset. We in the morning huddle and they just flying off the handle about everything. And sometimes I'll jokingly say, you know, what did your wife do last night? Or what did your husband do last night? Because I didn't sleep with you. Why you bother me?
All right.
You have to learn to, if other people are not the problem, if you had a problem at home, you should have straightened that out before you left. Don't bring that mess here. Don't bring that, because I haven't done anything to you for you to be upset. With me, you got to learn to have a soft answer. Soft answer. And you know what? When you give a soft answer, sometimes folk will check themselves. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Because a soft answer diffuses things. But if you get it back, And the sad part about it is, they pick all these fights, and then 5 minutes later, they act like nothing has happened. Preacher, you want a cup of coffee? Not from you, I don't. But a harsh word stirs up anger. We got to understand. Folk cannot argue about themselves. Sometimes you have to walk away to keep your calm and keep everything in check. When we have our meeting on the 29th, we're going to talk rational, we're going to talk loving, but we're going to talk honestly. If there's a problem, we need to discuss all these problems. We need to figure out how we're going to get where we need to go. And remember, everybody is a team member. Everybody is a team member. And that'd be like you all watch the Super Bowl, didn't you? I turned it on the last 10 minutes. I just gotta have it. I don't watch football long. I can't stand it too much. I can catch the end to see what's going on. There were folk that probably turned the game off at the start of the fourth quarter because the score was 20-2. Yeah. Kansas City hadn't done anything in 3 quarters. They ain't gonna do nothing now. We're in a period where we're a little down. I don't know why we're down, but we got to figure out why we're down. Because we're starting the fourth quarter. And that's where the game is won or lost. Nobody told Kansas City they could score 21 points. As a matter of fact, most folks say they can't score that many points. They have scored for 10 in 3 quarters. So I know they can't score enough in 1 quarter to win. But somehow or another, Kansas City didn't know that. Mm-hmm. You got to believe in you. Yeah. You got to decide, we are a winner. We may not be winning now, but we're a winner. And the game is not over. And you did not hear guys, there were some guys on that team that never got off the bench in that Super Bowl. Right, yeah. You didn't hear them saying, y'all losing the game. Yeah. All right. They were a team. Yeah. The church is a team. Whether you up front or sitting on the pew, we got to root each other on. And when your time gets ready to come in, yeah, do your best. I will tell you this, and then I'm gone, Brother Elder, get ready to extend the invitation. Brother Hill, I will never forget Brother Hill. Brother Hill, when we were trying to build what's now the fellowship hall, that was the sanctuary at that time. We were sitting down and we decided a game plan, and one of the brothers said, well, I'm gonna go to the bank and see what they tell us. We sat here, he came back and said they can't loan us any money. Brother Hill said, well, let me and Brother McKinney go. They ain't gonna give it to you because they already said they ain't gonna give us no money. Brother McKinney and Brother Hill were gone about 15. They weren't gone 20 minutes. Then we got the loan, we can get started. Brother Hill said, let me tell you a story about situations. And I always remember the story. He said, I always wanted to be the big man on the baseball team. But they wouldn't let me play, and I knew I could play. So he said we were in a game. I think he said he was playing for Jarvis or something like that. So we were in a game. And it was the 9th inning, 2 outs, bases were loaded. We were down by 2 runs. Coach said, he'll go back. He said, I got up there, struck out. We lost the game. Sometimes, when you think you what you are, you need to sit down and shut up so you don't embarrass yourself. Right. He said, that's one thing I learned, is that I thought I was the world's best baseball player and found out I lost the game. Not the team, I lost the game. Right. Because I had the opportunity. Sometimes, instead of knocking the person that's doing what they're doing, yeah, cheer them on. Amen. And if you can't help them, cheer them. And if you're not building something, don't tear it down. Let's learn. I But answers come from you and God. We're not trying to build a cult.
Yeah.
We're not trying to have some mind control thing. Everybody here that's an adult can think for themselves. I don't need to tell you what to think. I need to give you information so that you can think. But then whatever you and God work out, that's between you and God. As long as it does not bite, that's the thing about, we get in this thing, I don't like grape Kool-Aid, so nobody can drink grape Kool-Aid. That's childish. If it does not pertain to salvation, whatever you and God work out is between you and God. Whatsoever is not of faith is sin. So I may have the faith to do something that you don't have the faith to do. Don't do it just because I do. If your faith doesn't allow you to do it, I'm not talking about sin. I'm talking about those things that we have choices in. How long have we been arguing in the church about how many songs we do? That's a matter of choice. The Bible just said that sing. It didn't tell you how to sing. It didn't tell you how many songs you lead us to use. It just said sing. But we will argue and have debates and have lectureships and have conferences about how many folks are supposed to be leading singing. And one brother told me, in the church we ain't supposed to have a choir. I said, where did the Bible say that? It just says sing. And then I told him, I said, well, you know what? You may disagree with this, but I'm going to tell you something. Every Sunday there's a choir. The audience is a choir. And the other side of that is that you said you shouldn't have a choir because everybody can't sing. When you have a song leader, everybody ain't singing. You ever thought about that? See, we make issues. Now, that has nothing to do with you going to heaven or hell. But we'll spend 2 weeks arguing about, or a month arguing about how we sing, but we won't spend 5 minutes talking about how we need to love each other. And how we need to love each other through our problems and help each other through our problems. Because I tell you what, none of us are as healthy as we think we are. Amen. I'm talking about spiritually. Some of us are so heavenly bound with no earthly good. But when you can't love everybody, in spite of what their problem is. Anybody here that doesn't have a problem? Anybody here that doesn't have a shortcut? Anybody here that's always lived right? So, that being said, why does my wrong look wronger than yours?
Yeah.
Amen.
Huh?
Yeah.
See, we got to stop playing these games with each other. All of us are in the hospital trying to get well, and if we're sincere, none of us fall short because we want to. But sometimes we just fall short. Now, there's a difference. My dad used to tell me something. My dad used to say, if you do it once, it's a mistake. If you keep doing it, it's a habit.
All right.
Any of y'all parents tell you that?
Yeah.
Well, there's a difference between you making a mistake when you sin and a habit. Sometimes you got to break the habit, but every now and then you're gonna fall short. So when we're dealing with life, gotta go. Dealing with life, be quick to hear. Make sure you hear what you hear. But that doesn't mean you always have to repeat what you hear.
You may have to cut it off somewhere, prune it. You may have to dig around it and put some more stuff in it. It's better